Welcome to Sikhcast, brought to you by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.
Good afternoon and Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. The topic which was written for today was dealing with the personal commitments and panthik or community responsibilities. And I just want to go into that straight on. The reason is I'm actually, even this morning when I got up, I was thinking about what is my life's journey in last 1 year. And I was thinking about the things, the challenges at home front, whether I have 2 teenagers now, challenges with the extended family, which includes spouse and spouse's family, as well as my parents, medical, relationships, all of that. Challenges which are in the organization. They have to do with how do you raise enough money, how do you justice to each employee. Challenges in the communities I interact with, which has to do with some of the Sikh jathebandis. And I'm not unique in these things. And I've been dealing with this more diligently in the last 7 years. So I'm just going to share with you in more of how that became very real for me last year and what did I do about it. That doesn't mean this is for you, but this is what I have learned from Guru Granth Sahib. Because even this week, this morning I got up, you know what was the number thing on my mind, number one thing? Aj ki hoya Gaza de vich. ਫਿਰ ਬੜੀ ਛੇਤੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਹੁਣੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਦਾ ਰੌਲਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਕੀ ਕਰੂਗੀ। ਹੁਣ ਔਕਾਤ ਤੱਕ ਜਥੇਦਾਰ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਗਲਤ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਤਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਹੁਣ SFJ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਪੰਨੂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਬੋਲਤਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਫਿਰ ਏਅਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲੂਗੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ 25 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਹੋਰ ਛੱਡੋ, 40 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਕੁਛ ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਭਦਾ। This is what worries us, right? And what happens when things worry us? We operate, we are very territorial people. ਆਪਣਾ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਨਾ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ, we basically develop groupisms. ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਹੋਵੇ ਸਾਈਡ ਹੀ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਲੋਕੀ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਈ ਜੇ ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਵਾਈਫ ਦੀ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਫਿਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਕਿਹਦੀ ਸਾਈਡ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਇਹਦਾ ਭਰਾ ਕਿਹਦੀ ਸਾਈਡ ਲੈ ਰਿਹਾ, ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ। ਇਨ-ਲਾਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਕੁੜਮ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੜੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿਹੜਾ ਕੁੜਮ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੜਾ। ਪੰਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੌਲਾ ਪਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਯਾਰ ਟਕਸਾਨੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਖੜੇ ਨੇ, ਮਿਸ਼ਨਰੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਖੜੇ ਨੇ। And I'm navigating all this literally, if not daily, weekly. And all of you are navigating this. This is the reality in our relationships. Family relationships, personal relationships, community relationships, panthik relationships, And we end up, those of us who are actively involved, we end up taking positions. The position chanda ki hai, jidho assi kehne ਧੜੇਬਾਜ਼ੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਈ. And then we all complain about it. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਧੜੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੜਦੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੜ ਰਹੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਕੰਪਲੇਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਦੇਖਿਆ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੜਦੇ। That's the reality of our situation. And I'm having to deal with this much more at all of these fronts as well. I'm not immune from it. ਮੇਰੀ ਘਰਵਾਲੀ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੀ ਆ, ਮੇਰੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਨੇ, ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਪੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਨੇ, ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾ ਤੇ ਭਰਜਾਈ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਨੇ, ਮੇਰਾ ਜੀਜਾ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦਾ, ਮੇਰੀ ਸਾੜੀ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੀ। I deal with all of that too. I'm dealing with it in a weekly fashion as well. So ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੰਦਾ decide ਕਰੇ ਕਿ ਕਰੇ ਕੀ? Isn't that what our reality is? So we ask each other, we rely on people ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਭਲਾ ਬੰਦਾ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ। Or we say, if it's a corporate world, well, this person is more experienced in this conflict, let me ask them. That's what we do. When we ask multiple people and they give us 2 different or 3 different approaches, then we get confused. ਲਾਈਕ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਜਦ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੇਟ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਦ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਸਾਰੇ, ਕਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛੇ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਦੀ ਫਿਕਰ ਆ ਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਫਿਕਰ ਆ। That's where we are. So what I did is, literally this morning, मैं कहा मैं जो भी कहांगा वो बड़ा incomplete होगा. It won't be the right thing to say because my experience must not be superimposed on other people's experience. So why does it matter? But I can share with them a shabad which has been very effective for me in deciding these things. And it has caused problems. And by the way, whenever you make any decisions, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਲਾ ਦੁਆਲਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੰਗ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ, but then you learn to deal with it. Because you have to be clear in your intentionality, as we say these days. ਆਪਣੀ ਨੀਅਤ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਫ਼ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਨਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਵੈਂਚੁਅਲੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ। Now we call them in today's parlance, who's your tribe? Right? We are all looking for our tribes. And that eventually that tribe is in conflict with some other tribe. That's what is happening globally and panthically. So what I did this morning is, ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ 1 ਘੰਟਾ ਵਾਧੂ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ, ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੀ ਸੀ, 4 ਵਜੇ ਉੱਠ ਗਿਆ, ਮੈਂ 5 ਵਜੇ ਉੱਠਣਾ ਸੀ because 1 ਘੰਟਾ ਹੋਰ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to just write down the shabad and I'm going to read the line to you and I'm going to explain to you what it did for me. What is it telling me? So this is, how do you navigate? I'm going to just apply it here. How do I navigate? How do I deal with groupism? ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦਾ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਹੀ ਧੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਧੜੇ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਫੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਅਲਾਇੰਸ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੀਨਿੰਗ ਹੈਗਾ। And the shabad is in Rag Asa, and it is the shabad of Guru Ramdas Sahib. Now, why is this important? We just celebrated Guru Ramdas Sahib's Gurpurab, right? And most of you probably saw the helicopter scene in the Golden Temple complex of Sri Harinder Sahib Darbar Sahib. Well, that's nice to have, but that's not the real Guru Ramdas. The real Guru Ramdas, if you're interested in his thought, if you're interested in how he lived, is in his shabad. Because if today you came across Guru Ramdas when he was in development process, you wouldn't ask him a question because you would think this person doesn't know anything, because he was a basic blue-collar worker standing outside Darbar Sahib complex of today. ਉਹ ਘੁੰਗਣੀਆਂ ਵੇਚਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਕੋਲ, ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਪੁੱਛਣ, because we think that person doesn't know. We all have our own lenses who we ask. And by those lenses, we mostly have actually developed more factions. So I want to go back to ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ, you know, ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰੂ ਬਾਰੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ 'ਚ ਲਿਖਿਆ, ਪੂਰੀ ਹੋਈ ਕਰਾਮਾਤ. Karamat is a miracle, literally. It says the miracle was complete when this youngster who grew up with a single mother, eventually Dadi ji, eventually no, very poor blue-collar worker, who ended up becoming the uncontested guru of the Sikh nation. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ miracle ਪੂਰਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ. So what is miracle in Sikhi? When somebody's thought process is consistent and persistent, and Guru Amar Das recognized that. He even married his daughter to him. Can you imagine that? A richest guru literally in their history marrying to the poorest person. That's the paradigm. In that paradigm, that Guru Ramdas Sahib has a shabad in Rag Asa, Kar Duja, Mehla Chautha, the 4th embodiment of Guru Nanak. The real, what we call successor of Guru Nanak. ਆਪਣੀ ਵੀ ਸਕਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ ਨਾ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਫੇਮਸ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ। ਉਹਦੀ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਅ ਪਪੂਲਰ ਸ਼ੋਅ। ਬਟ ਵਾਟ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਦ ਸਕਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਸਟੋਰੀਜ਼ ਇਨ ਸਿੱਖੀ? ਐਂਡ ਲੁੱਕ ਐਟ ਦ breakdown I sort of did for you, that the one who became successor of Guru Nanak's house, what is his advice to all of us, to the 8.2 billion people? And I find this advice very helpful for myself. So this is how he starts. And look at how direct he is in his statements. He says, Kis hi tada kiya mittar sut naal pai. Kis hi tada kiya kudum sake naal jawai. Kis hi tada kiya sikdar chaudhary naal apne sawai. Hamara tada har reha samay. Simply, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ translate ਕਰਾਂ ਨਾ for our purposes, it says, some form an alliance with friends, their children, and their siblings. ਘਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ. Some form an alliance with their parents, the parents of their son-in-law or daughter-in-law. That's kudums. Some do it directly with the son-in-law, the jawai. You see this in the political families, you see it in our own families. So don't think that we are immune from it. This is the human dynamics which is ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ. And then some form an alliance with the chiefs and the heads for self-interest. This is the political game we play. Chiefs which ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ CEO ਵੀ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. We form alliances with the C-level leaderships, and the chiefs are also the political ones. The ones who are in charge of economic power or political power, from the local politicians to jathedars to other spaces. And then what is his statement? Guru Ram Das Sahib says, my alliance is with Hari, who is present everywhere. We have to interpret this now. His alliance is with Hari, who is everywhere, which means it's not temporary. Hari, in its etymology, is very simple thing to understand. It means all pervasive. It also means the one who eliminates fear. This is the light, this is the wisdom which is everywhere. But wisdom, the alliance, kidhar badna, he just said, my alliance is with them. And this is where we are. We are mostly making alliance with relatives or some siblings or some spouses or some networks, business networks, political networks. That's what this is. He says, no, I'm not making any of those alliances. I'm only making it with the one light. Then he continues in the Rahao line, and this is the crux. And he says, Ham har se o tada kiya, meri har tek. Main har bin tapak tada avar na koi, ho har gun gawa asankh anek. Rahao. Now, why is this important? Rahao literally means pause. Pause in the poetic sense, in a cultural sense. Even ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਈਕੋਲੋਜਿਸਟ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਿਤੇ conflicting ਜੀ ਗੱਲ debate ਜੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਨਾ, they say, hold on, let's pause. Let's sleep over it, right? So why do you have to pause? Because you got to really think about this. You need to take time to, what we call, digest that. Let it cook in your brain, as we say today. This is where he wants us to, Guru Ram Das wants us to pause and reflect. He wants this idea to really cook, because the earlier were just statements, like what people are doing. And what is he saying? He says, I formed an alliance with Hari, and Hari is my only support. That's very hard for us to accept right now, because we have way too many supports. Right? Even as an organization, we are asking for your support. Right? So it's hard to work with, because the global paradigm, the worldly paradigms teaches us something else. And Guru Ram Das is teaching us, but you are my only support. That Hari who's everywhere, that Hari who eliminates the fear, that Hari who provides the wisdom, the light, that's my only support. That's why we're telling his story, right? We're not telling other people's stories standing here. And the second part of that is, he clarifies that I have no other group or alliance except with Hari. So, sometimes we say things, but we continue to do other things. He's like, no, I actually don't have any other alliance. I have no other group. Pak. Punjabi ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜਕੱਲ ਵੀ use ਹੁੰਦਾ word ਕਿ ਕਿਹਦਾ ਪੱਖ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦਾ ਪੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਲੈ ਰਿਹਾ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਨਾਲ ਧੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾ ਰਿਹਾ, except with Hari. And what do I do? This is the first thing he says, what he does. He says, I sing that Hari's countless and innumerable virtues. So ਇੱਥੋਂ ਇਹ clear ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ Hari ਨੂੰ qualify ਕਰਤਾ. It's not the Hari of particular Indic or Hindu mythology, because some people have name like Hari as well. Like part of my name is Hari too, Harinder. So it's not talking about people who are named Hari. It's talking about the virtuous of the one, the virtuous Hari. ਹੁਣ ਕਿਉਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ? You guys know what Ghana is. Let's make it very clear. You know, if I'm the only one speaking right now. If 10 of you start saying things to me, or if the whole room starts to say things right now, we will call that's a noise pollution. Nothing will make sense if 100 people speak at the same time, right? But if 10 people start singing something right now, and 100 and the whole room, it will become an incredibly harmonious experience. When you see this, impromptu it happens. Sometimes we stage it, but when it really is impromptu, it is what we call it an outer world experience. ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਗਾਣ ਲਈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ. And this is not about performance singing. You know, some people have got skill. I can't sing. Sing literally means obviously to sing, but you know, when we are taking shower, don't we sing even if we don't know how to perform? Because something is doing a number on us. When something is doing a number on you, you sing. And sing figuratively in Guru Granth Sahib, for the Guru Sahibs, for Guru Nanak Sahib, is a figurative way of saying the whole world actually is singing, but we are not listening to the singing. And when you and I actually sing the virtues of Hari, not of each other, because mostly ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਪਲੂਸੀ sing ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, right? We are not doing the praise, the glory of the one. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਰੀ ਦੇ ਗੁਣ ਗਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ. ਜਦੋਂ ਦਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਬਣਦੇ ਹੋ. ਜਦੋਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਬਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਫਿਰ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਸਮਝ ਆਊਗਾ. Otherwise, we continue to practice it in our home and in our society. So that experience of how do you develop an alliance with Hari, the all-pervasive force, the fear eliminating, because ਇਹ ਦੋ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਖਤਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਸਾਡਾ ਡਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ. And that alliance is formed by singing the virtues of the one. Now let's continue. In the second paragraph, he says, जिनसे धड़े करे से जाहे, झूठ धड़े कर पछोता है, थिर ना रहे मन खोट कमाहे, हम हर्ष्यो धड़ा किया जिसका कोई समर्थ ना है. This is a trademark style of Guru Ramdas Pasha. If you read his Shabats, he gives short lines and then he gives a long line. In every Guru has their own experience and poetics built into it. And this rag is Asa, and Asa is very clear and shortcut, where it gives you a lot of hope because you're getting clarity. That's why Asa Ki War is sung in Gurdwaras traditionally. That whole Bani provides us clarity in what to do every day. And this rag, then he says, those with whom an alliance is formed, they die. It's talking about the alliances we form, which means they're temporary. Then why do we get upset when alliances don't last? Because they were not meant to last. I mean, the horse trading kalli politics is thodi hundi, apne ghar ach nahi hundi. I mean, we are just all working like that. We have not figured out how to create a one alliance. And they repent for forming, the word is chut tade, lie, literally chut is lie. Because the alliance is formed on lies. And we do lie. We have to accept that. We lie. We're always lying. The interpretation is it's falsehood. But it actually is a lie. Let's use the word, what the word says. So when you're building alliance based on a lie, because you want to temporarily gain something, of course it's going to get destroyed. So ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਠਬੰਧਨ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਥੋੜੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਦੋ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਲਈ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, then why are you expecting ਬਾਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਆਊਗਾ? ਉਹਨੇ ਦੋ confidence vote ਵੀ ਹੋਣ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਨਾ. So because there is an eventual lie in each alliance. And that means it's a temporary alliance. And temporary alliances is after temporary things. Then how can you demand a permanent peace? I mean, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗਾਜ਼ਾ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁਣੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ 75 ਸਾਲ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀ 75 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ. ਟੂ ਸਟੇਟ ਥਿਓਰੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, 75 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ. Because there is a lie there. There's a basic lie in situation. And then you can talk about Hamas theek hai ki nahi. Of course nahi hai theek. But basic lie stands. Okay. Then he continues, they do not last. Their minds engage in scams. I'm interpreting scams because that's what we do. We are always scamming. ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਬਣਾਉਣੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ, but ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੋਟਸ ਬਣਾਉਣੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ scam ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. Right? I mean, America 'ਚ ਵੀ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ. This whole voter suppression is part of that. with our kids we do this. We scam them too, let's admit it. जब ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, emotional blackmailing ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ. And he says this, man khot kamahe. Khot literally is counterfeit. We are not genuine in what our mind is asking. Your mind is actually playing games. You're scamming them because you know why you're doing it. You have something else in mind when you're doing that alliance. And then he ends with, again, I formed an alliance with Hari, and no one is more capable, Samrat, which interpretively means more powerful. So the last line he's saying, and he gives one quality, why he formed an alliance with Hari. And in this one he said, he formed it because he did it with the most capable one, who is Hari, the light, the one. Let's continue, because Shabad is most important, right? This is where the guidance comes. Here is the third paragraph. So something else is going to unfold here. He says, Ehe sad tade maya moho pasari. Maya ko nujhe gawari. Janam mara juwe baji hari. Hamre har tira je halat palat sab savari. Let's get into this. His first part is saying all these alliances are expense of Maya and attachment. Let's pause here for a second. The word Maya, we need to understand what that is. It is not just wealth. Maya is any relationship which is temporary. Maya is any material which is temporary. Maya is the creation of the one Hari itself. Maya are the things which we are dealing with in our life. He says, you have made alliance with the Maya. You haven't made alliance with the Har, the one. And that's part of the problem. When you are then attached to that relationship, that wealth, those things, and then what happens? You ignore it. Fight for Maya. Isn't that what happens mostly in a relationship? So Maya is a relationship too. We forget the relationship part of the Maya. Because relationships are temporary. Pehle paragraph ਚ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ alliance ਬਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਮਰ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ, which means they're temporary. Even if they live beyond their life expectancy, at most you'll get about 100 years. Statistically now it's 77 in the Western world. It's a long time. At some point, you have alliance for maybe 5 years, sometimes 31 1 year. Some may last 50 years. But they're all temporary. But you still fight. ਲੜਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿਸ ਕੰਮ ਲਈ? ਇਗਨੋਰੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੜਦੇ ਹੋ ਮਾਇਆ ਦੇ ਲਈ. ਹਰੀ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੜ ਰਿਹਾ ਕੋਈ. ਹਰੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮਾਇਆ ਲਈ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਲਈ. Okay? They born and they die, which is us. It's talking about us losing their game of life in gambling. ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਗੈਂਬਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੂਏ ਬਾਜੀ ਹਾਰੀ. We are gambling. Gamble ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ? Is there a certainty? If there was, believe me, all gambling agencies will not be doing it. In fact, the odds are always against you. This is something we have to understand because Gurbani uses this phrase a lot. But it is entertaining, right? Isn't it? And those who win, you always hear about their stories. At the end of the day, the house wins. You all know that. At the end of the day, the house is Maya. Maya is going to win unless you're going to train to fight Maya and to have an alliance with the one. And this is where he ends. My alliance with Hari beautifies everything, here and there. ਇਹ ਬੜੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਵਰਡ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਰਾਮਦਾਸ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ, ਸਭ ਸਵਾਰੀ, ਸਵਾਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਸੋਹਣਾ ਬਣਾ ਦੇਣਾ. He says, but this alliance I built, it is beautifying everything, which means it's transforming everything. And it only not just transfer here. Here means now. And there, colloquially, in Indology means, they mean after life. No, it means anything from now onward, the future. Don't think it's about after you die. Sikhi is not about after you die. Sikhi is all about ki hone ki ho mera. In fact, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਭਗਤ ਸਦਨਾ ਜੀ ਦਾ, who was a butcher by profession. He says in his Rahau line of the Shabad, ki the whole world says ki tere karm nahi theek. He uses this word, just like we talk. He's like, I don't know what you're going to do to me because I'm a butcher. But he says, Aren't you going to take care of me now? Because I'm not interested in coming to me when I'm drowning. I need you to come save me. Don't send boat afterwards. That's the phrase he uses in that Shabad, which means freedom for us is when we are in pain. I need help now. And here means now, this earth while I'm living. There means afterwards, which means whenever the pain stops. For some people, the pain doesn't stop whole life. That's most of us. But if you want it to stop, you need to do this now. So my next future, my next second changes. I go Ramdas Pasha saying, my next second is changing because you beautified my life. My alliance with the one beautified my life. And the next part of the Shabad is, Kaljug mein tade panch chor chagdaye. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ phraseology ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਾਣੀ ਲਈ ਇਹ philosophy ਹੈ ਦੇਖੋ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ it's actually practical application. So what is Kaljug? Kaljug in Indology people say is the last era of the world and then the world is doomed and everyone will die. Well, Guru Nanak Sahib redefines it and he says Kaljug literally means the age of darkness. Darkness is symbolism for ignorance. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉੱਪਰ ਆਇਆ ਨਾ ਗਵਾਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਵਾਰ ਹਾਂ so which means when I'm ignorant I'm in the age of darkness. Because I don't know the answer. Once we know the answer and we invest in that answer, then we start changing. Right? That's what we do in our relationships and that's what we do in our work. Once you figure it out, you start practicing it. But if you can't figure it out, you remain ignorant of that. So ਇੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, in dark ignorance era's alliances, the 5 thieves fight. So who's fighting? We have 5 wrestlers within us. In this Shabad, he's calling them thieves. Because, and what are those? He says, Kaam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Abhiman, Vadhai. The lust, the wrath, anger, the greed, the attachment, and the pride, they're actually growing. I know we like to say these days, pardon me for saying this, because we are copying the worldly paradigm way too much, and and this Shabad is saying that's why our problems are increasing. We actually say, I'm very proud of it. Gurbani ਕਿਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ accept ਕਰਦੀ ਇਹ statement. ਦੇਖੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ pride is part of the problem. Everything you are doing, you're increasing your pride, you're increasing your greed, you're increasing your attachment, you're increasing your gussa, your anger, you're increasing your lust. Sexuality ਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਡਾਟਰ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ 2 ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਬੜੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਖੁੱਲ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਉਹ 14 ਸਾਲ ਉਮਰ ਆ ਉਹਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ what you're watching it seems little too much. She's like that, this is the norm. I'm like, they're showing all their butt. This is the norm now. True, it is the norm, right? Mainstream celebrities, you can see it. And then sexuality is at a next level. Greed is at the next level. Look at how many people are getting caught up in the corporate fraud. The scam. Everything is going to next levels. We are part of that because we are in ignorance are increasing this. Those who figure it out, which means the ones who develop alliance, they don't do this. Jisnu kirpa kare tis satsang milai. Those who feel the one's grace, they meet the eternal company. Right now we are in this company. We enjoy these companies. We have our own tribes. Sham nu kite hor behna, savere kite hor behna, Netflix ko chhod dekhna. We all have our own things we do. And what do you think that's increasing? The things which were just mentioned. For almost all of us. But unless your company is with eternality, with the one, the ideas which are constant, everything else will increase in you, which means your ignorance is increasing, not the solution. That's Guru Ramdas Sahib. And then what does he say at the end again? Hamra tada, hamra har tada, jin ehe tade sab gavaye. He says, once my alliance with Hari was formed, it destroyed all other alliances. So when we don't know what to do, this is the alliance to develop. Then you know what to do. Otherwise, you're joining one of the temporary alliances. And I'm going to come towards the end of the Shabad. He says, Mithya duja pao tade beh pave. And duja pao is a very important phrase. What it really means is, literally we call this other love. What's other love? Other love is any love other than the love for the one. So ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਿਆਣਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ spouse ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਡਜ਼ਨਟ ਮੀਨ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਦੂਜਾ ਭਾਵ ਆ, ਬਟ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਓਂਕਾਰ ਬੈਠਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ, ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਆ। ਇਟਸ ਨਾਟ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਯਰ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪਸ। What in that relationship are you loving? The pride, the attachment, the sex? That's the question. So ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਿਥਿਆ is the one you created in your mind. ਮਿਥ ਲਿਆ ਨਾ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਮਿਥੀ ਸੀ, ਇਹ ਪੂਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਚਲੋ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਾ ਲਓ। Which means the one you created in your mind. Literally ਇਹਦਾ ਇਹ ਮਤਲਬ ਆ that whatever you thought, you develop other loves, and out of that other loves, then you sit with them. It actually said, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਹਿ ਪਾਵੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਫਿਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਬਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਧੜਾ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ। But this is born out of other love, not the one love. And then it continues, ਪਰਾਇਆ ਛਿਦਰ ਅਟਕਲ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣਾ ਅਹੰਕਾਰ ਵਧਾਵੇ। Now it's a very interesting word ਇੱਥੇ ਆਇਆ, ਅਟਕਲ ਹੈ। ਅਟਕਲ literally means to estimate. And we do this, right? ਜਦ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਹਿ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਰੁੱਪ 'ਚ, ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਯਾਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਕੀ ਨੇ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸੋ। That's what this line is saying. We call this oppositional research in politics. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਡਰਟ ਇਕੱਠੀ ਕਰਨੀ। That's what this is saying. ਪਰਾਇਆ ਛਿਦਰ ਅਟਕਲ ਹੈ। We formulate, we guess others' faults, others' problems. And then what does it do? ਆਪਣਾ ਅਹੰਕਾਰ ਵਧਾਵੇ। When you are collecting other people's fault, you are actually increasing your own pride. That's what Guru Ramdas Pasha is saying. If ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੱਲੇ ਦਿਖਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਡ, ਆਪਣੀ ਈਗੋ ਵਧਾਈ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ। And then he ends with, ਜੈਸਾ ਬੀਜੇ ਤੈਸਾ ਖਾਵੇ। We all know what this means. You know, whatever you sow, that's what you eat, which means that's what you reap. That's what we say in English, which essentially means the line you said earlier. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ reputation ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। And we call these things, what are you focused on? Only on oppositional research. Only on putting the other person down. Which means you're building your own ego. And he ends again with what? The last line of the Shabad. Jan Nanak ka har tada taram. Sab srisht jin aave. Very important because, you know, the whole Indology and now the West is included. Everyone wants to have taram in their life. Without realizing what taram is, it's become another part of the problem. For Guru Nanak, it was part of the problem. He's like, okay, you want taram in your life? This is my taram. If you treat taram as a principle, what is the principle you want to follow? He says, Votary Nanak's principle is Hari's alliance. Jan Nanak. Jan is people. Jan is servant. Jan is humble. All of those. You know, so whatever the individual's power within is, where do you take that power to create this alliance with the one? And he says, this is my taram. Look how powerful that is. He's like, I'm not interested in what the religious people are telling. That's not my taram. And this is where we are caught up too. We are always asking the religious experts what to do. He's like, no, this is my taram. My taram is to form an alliance with the one. And what does this do? Sab srisht jid aave. This is victorious in the whole, in the entire creation, this alliance. Now, why did I take you guys through this journey? This is his thinking. This is what we call Gurmat. How did he apply this thinking? What did you might be wondering, yeah, I suddenly the gun lag rahi hai, but how did, well, Guru Ramdas applied it. You know, his elders in his family, including Guru Nanak's son, made fun of him. You know the Sikhs. He didn't fight back with them. He's like, ignorant nal ki fight karni. But he fight easy. He's the one, by the way, who was the one who developed the plan for what we now call the Varsab complex. The land was bought by Guru Amar Das. The plan was developed by Guru Ram Das. And the Harinder Singh was built by Guru Arjan Singh. Look at where he took it. He's like, I know all these alliances in my own family. He saw alliances with the Guru Nanak's descendant. He saw alliances what the state was doing at the time, because state had starting to become anti-Sikh. But ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਜਾਰੀ. This is how you apply this. Your alliances with still who? which force in the world, the force which feels the oneness. So if your project is, for example, if your project is to make Khalistan, is your alliance with SFJ or is your alliance with Dal Khalsa in India or Daljit Singh Bittu's group? That's the question. If your project is to win elections in Canada, then which alliance you need to make? You need to think who's more closer to one. Is it the Greens? Is it the Conservatives? Is it the Liberals or is it the NDP? And you may have to localize some of that. That's what this means. This is how it comes out in practice. If your project is that you want your kids to become the best human beings, then you might not be the right alliance for them because you've taught them too much division. Maybe you have taught them hatred because we do that. I've heard in my own families and in my own Jathebandis where I've dealt with it, how they speak about other Sikhs or non-Sikhs. That's what Guru Ramdas Patsha is teaching us. He didn't try to make his sons or daughters. He had 3 sons. Guess what? All 3 turned out very different. We talk about success stories was Guru Arjan. The one who got Guru Arjan assassinated was also his son. He conspired with the state to get him tortured and killed. So Guru Ramdas is very, very real. And he's telling us, you need to be clear your alliance is with who. If your alliance is with the one, then you will apply that criteria, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, whether it's your in-laws, whether it is the C-level leadership, whether it is the political leader, everyone he mentioned in the first paragraph. Otherwise, he says, it's your own greed and pride. And we have pride. It's, I understand that as a human phenomenon. I'm not saying that we just stop as a declaration, or proud word use nahi karna. It's not about use. It's like last name. You can use it or not use it. But if your behavior displays it, that's the problem. It's not ceremoniously eliminating something. It's how you make decisions. Because we do have to make decisions. And our decisions are getting us in trouble. If you want your decisions to become powerful, then it is the alliance with the one. So this is what we have to deal with. We have to make choices. Demonstration de jawa. If you are part of the activist protest politics, we do have to make those decisions, right? Which one I sign? So it becomes that real. If your kids come home and they're adults and they bring in somebody home who you don't like, how are you going to say this? Is your vocabulary proper? Is it sweet or is it putting the person down? That's what this means. Which means your own oneness doesn't exist yet. It is not about that you have to agree with everything. It is about how you say and articulate and behave and deal with things. ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਹੁਕਮ ਮੈਂ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਖਤਮ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਹੁਕਮ ਭਗਤ ਕਬੀਰ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੋਂ। ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟਲੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਆਸਾ ਰਾਗ ਦਾ ਸੀ। It's very funny, I don't have any magic answers. Some people think ਕਿ ਹਰਿੰਦਰ ਦੇ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਹੁਕਮ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਬਸ। ਬਾਕੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਡੇਟਾ ਕਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨੋਇਜ਼ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਈਂਡ 'ਚ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਸਵੇਰ ਦੀ 4 ਵਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ 12 ਵਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਰਾਈਟ, 6 ਘੰਟੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜਾ ਕੁਛ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਲਈ, ਰੇਡੀਓ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ, ਕਾਲ ਵੀ ਆ ਗਏ, ਕੋਈ ਕੌਨਫਲਿਕਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਆ ਗਈ। ਸੋ there's all of us go through this. But eventually, what is your filter mechanism to make your decision? ਤੇ ਭਗਤ ਕਬੀਰ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਤੀ ਅੱਜ। And I want to say this because some people think ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੁਛ ਹੋਰ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਭਗਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। If you say this, then you're saying you're smarter than Guru Arjan, and I would say please reconsider. Because he's the one who put them together. He's the one. He had thousands of choices of poets and sons. Only 15 sons of India made it to Guru Granth Sahib. जब उस वेले गुरु अर्जन साहब बाणी इकट्ठी कर रहे थे ना, thousands of sons सीगे इंडिया च. The whole period is called Sant tradition by academics. But only 15 made it to Guru Granth Sahib. मतलब वो कुछ different गल कर रहे हैं, वो इदां दी गल्लां करदे ने, वो सीधी गल करदे ने, पर्सनल गल करदे ने, जिथे बंदे नूं हेल्प मिले कि करना की है। ये नहीं कि ये भी कर लो तो ये भी कर लो। And what does he say? Bhagat Kabir's ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਹੁਕਮ ਦੀ last line ਸੀਗੀ कहत कबीर सुनो रे संतो पै सागर के ताई। पहली गल, the language of Guru Granth Sahib calls everyone in this world a sant. Think about that for a second. We today call a particular look to be a sant. You know, people who may have a particular turban or a particular look. Turban, unturbaned, cisgender, non-cisgender. It's a study division. Why we can't entertain this stuff. That's your choice. That's how you live. It's your trajectory. ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਐਂਟਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ। ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਬਸ। ਉਹਦਾ ਜੈਂਡਰ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀ ਸੈਕਸ਼ੁਅਲਿਟੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦਾ ਲੁੱਕ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀ ਜਾਤ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀ ਰੇਸ ਕੀ ਹੈ। Those are our problems. Those are the ਧੜੇ। And what is Bhagat Kabir saying? He's saying, Suno re santo. He's saying, listen, oh truth exemplar. Sant means, sant comes from sat. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਤ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਰਿਹਾ, the one who's exemplifying the truth in their life. Not what they look like. And when it comes in Gurbani, when they're talking to people, gurus and bhagats, they call everyone a sant. Because we all have a desire to exemplify truth. We really do. That's the part we need to all build on. We don't deeply desire to lie. Because we form groups, we lie. For our own protection and their group's protection and things of that nature. So, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਬੀਰ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੁਣੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੰਤੋ, ਮਤਲਬ all of you who want to exemplify the truth, ਪੈ ਸਾਗਰ ਕੇ ਤਾਈ. He's like, I know this ocean, this world is an ocean and you are fearful in this world of ocean. Then we are all filled with fear. That's the issue. You know, the fear of rejection in relationships to fear of governments when you are an activist. It's pretty clear. We all have fears. Fears of rejection, fear of not making it, fear of not being able to please. I mean, you name it, we are filled with fear. This is why Hari is so important in the Shabad. Because one element of Hari is the one who eliminates fear for you. And what does he say? He's like, I understand. So, ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ empathize ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਭਗਤ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਇਹਦਾ ਇਹ ਮਤਲਬ। ਬਟ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਸੰਤ, ਆਪਾਂ ਫੇਰ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਜੀਣਾ, ਸਿਰਫ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਸੱਚ ਜੀਣਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ। ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰੀਏ? ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ इस बंदे सिर जुल्म होता है। जुल्म सारे समझते हैं ना आपको। जुल्म है जब बहुत गलत काम हो रहा, जब आप कहने सरकार ने इन्ना जुल्म करता या मुगलों ने इन्ना जुल्म करता, दैट जुल्म। बट असी भी जुल्म करते हैं। असी अपने न्याणियां ते अपनी रिलेशनशिप विच ते होर बंदियां ते भी जुल्म करते हैं ना। मैंटल जो टॉर्चर है वो बहुत डेंजरस है। एंड ऑल ऑफ यू आर एक्नॉलेजिंग दैट नाउ, द वर्ल्ड इज एक्नॉलेजिंग दैट नाउ। इट इज नॉट जस्ट अ पोलिटिकल टॉर्चर, the mental tortures we do. And he says, is bande sir julm hota hai. And they on our heads, which literally means that I am also doing this. We know this is happening. Jam nahi hate gusai. He says, until this fear of death comes out of you, and you actually are able to acknowledge gusai. Gusai is another attribute of the divine, which something, it's like a beloved. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਿਲਵਡ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੋ, ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਵੀ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਸੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਜੀ ਪਾਓਗੇ। ਗੁਸਾਈ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੋ। Look at the idea. So Bhagat Kabir is saying the same thing. So what is my personal responsibility? First decide who do you want to make alliance with. Am I interested in making alliance with her? The light, the fear eliminating light, which is everywhere. And what is my public responsibility? To only then work with that alliance which sees and operates in oneness. That's what this means. And you know what? The good news is, most Sikhs know this in their psyche. They may not have the details like a Shabad Sikh, but ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ, ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਦ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ ਕੰਮ ਦਿਖਦਾ। ਬਟ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਿਸਅਪੋਇੰਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਇਨਕੁਆਇਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ। Right? But don't get disappointed. That's your own frustration. That's your own pride. It's like inquiry ਕਰੋ ਨਾ, ਧੜਾ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ? ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਨੂੰ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ 1984 ਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖੱਪ ਪਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ? ਇਹ ਆ ਗੱਲ ਅਸਲੀ। ਤੇ ਪਤਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲੱਗੂ? ਦੇਖੋ ਧੜਾ ਅਲਾਇੰਸ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ। Who are you making? That doesn't mean that you cannot talk to others. Guru Ramdas Patsha talked with everyone. He really did. He had conversations with everyone, but he didn't make alliance with everyone. That's the difference. So you will have to have conversations with the ones you disagree, and the ones who don't like you, and the ones who cannot stand you, and the ones who are in dissent of you. But then you have to see, based on your alliance with the one who to really work with to change the reality. अपने घर दी reality, अपनी organization दी reality, अपनी community दी reality, as well as पंथ ते globe दी reality. Thank you. वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह.
You were listening to Sickcast by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.